Ah, and we are live.
Hello there.
Hi. Um, Welcome to Tya Talk. It is, if you don't know us, um, I'm Carrie, and I am a Tya Bootcamp graduate and work with David and Wendy, also Tya
I'm
Bootcamp graduate and brilliant, intelligent mind. And she also works with us, but mostly behind the scenes, helping with social media setup and um, just anything we need. Wendy's there helping. So
well, thank you for having me on today. I'm very excited to have a little chat with you.
yeah, absolutely. I love. We have so many behind the scenes conversations, and Wendy, you always inspire me with your perspective and your use of Taya tools. Actually, as I said, one of my most favorite, and you did end up posting this in Patreon, was taking your voice to court, taking your Claude voice to court,
Mhm.
which I know is not our topic today, but I do use that often because I just never viewed it in that perspective. And it just really has given me inspiration and a whole new view on my Claude voice, who I named Agatha. Um, but anyway, so today we have our topic is aging, right? How to view. So Taya tools, we're all aging. Nobody gets out unless you have died young. You don't get out of this lifetime without aging, and our bodies age, our minds age. I used to, when I was young, think that I would just have so much more knowledge and experience as I aged. And then working in healthcare, seeing that oftentimes that isn't always the case, that I had met people that were so firm in their belief system that they weren't open to listening to young people and their ideas. I also witnessed in home health many people with the um, having dementia or some sort of brain injury or brain something to do with their brain that actually uh, would create a scenario for them to not even understand the aging process or what was happening to them, and having to explain that. So I've experienced several different things, being blessed in working in healthcare and getting to help many people who have gone through the aging process. And
Right.
so that was kind of cool. But even my own um, personal journey as my kids grew up, and things happening as you age that you don't expect. Um, Things like, and the first thing that comes to mind, and I'll give you an example, and then I want to see where Wendy, what you have, because I love your ideas. But this was an example. So I was very athletic, did all kinds of sports, and one of our favorites was skiing, snow skiing or water skiing. And so, in taking my kids water skiing, oftentimes I was the one driving the boat and didn't ski. But as they got older and started to learn to drive the boat, they were like, "Well, Mom, you get in." And so I thought, okay, so I jump in the water and I get behind the boat and we ski around the lake. And I realized that, wow, my muscles were really struggling with staying upright, and which skiing was so always so easy for me. And so by the time I just finally let go of the rope. I just could not do it anymore. And so they were like, "Come on, Mom, get in the boat." And I knew there was no way I could climb that ladder. My muscles were just shaking. And I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna float here for a little while. You guys go on." And I thought, I'll just swim to shore. I'll just float in. And they were so worried. "Are you okay? Are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just fine. I'm just going to enjoy the water and float." Because I didn't want to tell them that, yeah, because my body had gone, I was older and I had not continued skiing. I was driving the boat. So to recognize that my physical body had changed. And just like anything in life, I decided at that moment I had a choice, right? I could just accept it, or I could realize that I needed to bump up my workouts a little bit more so that I could enjoy skiing with them, which I did. And by the end of the summer, I was back up skiing. I never could get to the I forget what it's called, the one ski. It's got a word and I can't think of it right now. But I never could drop my second ski and get to the one ski that summer, which was a skill I used to have very easily. But anyway, so recognizing that gave me the inspiration to know that I could, with training and practice and diligence, get my body strong again. And so looking back at that and time stamping that for myself as a Tya tool, realizing that we have that opportunity with everything in life. Am I going to defeat aging? No. Everything has a beginning, middle, and an end as the stream is shared. And we're all going to age. It's the human process. But can I go out strong and positive and inspired? Absolutely. I'm not ready to just sit down and allow my body to become weak. And I do know of people well into their 80s. I had a gentleman, actually, home health, that I saw that just absolutely amazed me with his strength and his power and how he would continue. I mean, he was definitely still water skiing and active, and just, it was lovely to see someone at that age fully still enjoying and living their life. So, and I see Erica on. Hi, Erica. And I'm going to mute because my dog is making noise. Go ahead, Wendy. Tell me your inspired thoughts on this.
Well, I've been kind of going for I've been reflecting more on a wider scale on society's perceptions on aging in general, especially here in North America, which we do kind of have a not so great perspective on aging. In a lot of cultures, elders are respected and revered, but here in our society, aging is feared, it's reviled. Um, it's not so much about you know aging well, it's how to fight back. You flip on the TV, you find skin creams you know being advertised, you see supplements, you see procedures being done, and you watch shows like The Real Housewives, and you see celebrities on TV, and it's just this this you know just fighting tooth and nail against aging. And anyone, especially famous people who start to show signs of aging or who may be starting to experience aging, is everybody, it's like watching a car accident, like, oh my god, look how she's aged, and how dare she. And especially for women, it can be pretty brutal. And I've actually had some uh you know uh I've caught myself thinking, it's like, oh, it's like, oh, I'm starting to see some fine lines, or got to start working out more. It's like, oh, I got to change my diet, because I see someone on television the same age, and it's like, oh, I don't look like her. And I've never really based my value on physical prowess. I've never been an athlete. I'm not a supermodel. But even I have had my anxieties around aging. And I can't imagine what it's like for someone who has based their self-worth on their physical abilities, like an athlete, or say a model who's revered around the world for her beauty. I can't imagine what the aging process is like for them. And even though they may have tons of money and personal chefs and personal trainers and the best doctors to work on them, that's a heavy burden to carry. And a lot of sometimes you hear of people who don't take it well. It does put a toll on them. So that's where you bring in the Taya tools to kind of alleviate those anxieties and to shift your views on the changes that your body or your mind are going to start to go through. And that's something I'm starting to address just now. It's like, oh, okay, it's I start to have these thoughts about you know I see a person who's much older than me, and I think, is that how I'm going to end up like? And I have to catch myself and think, okay, they're having their experience, and that's perfectly okay. Whether you see an 80-year-old who's still modeling or doing one arm push-ups, or someone who's in a care home hooked up to life support. They're just individual experiences, and they are all perfectly okay.
Oh, that, thank you for sharing that, Wendy. That did definitely bring back memories of going through the aging process with my own mother. And I remember times when, especially if we were getting ready, like to go somewhere, a family party or something, and her feeling that she wasn't as beautiful as she used to be, or yeah, those feelings of seeing the fine lines and seeing the gray hairs, and not realizing, not connecting that. Thank you so much, because of course, for the people we see on television, that's their whole persona. Is typically in movies and commercials, we see the young, beautiful model, right? She's perfect and airbrushed. We discovered, years later, that there was airbrushing and things going on in often the photos, but that's how they identify. And so to wake up in the morning and not see the face that they see that's portrayed to the public, as I love how David always says, the Instagram life, right? And of course, I know that just being around, as you said, being out in society and watching my kids and their friends, and, they have these apps where you can just Photoshop out the unwanted piece in the picture, or, the wrinkles on your face or whatever. And then portraying that Instagram life, but inside feeling those feelings, which it's absolutely valid. It is valid to feel those feelings. And the beauty of bringing the Taya mindset to it is finding appreciation for each experience, each stage in your life. And us being not at that stage, I'm thinking back to how my mom felt. And I remember thinking, it's interesting, because you don't see yourself as others see you. And I remember looking at my mom and thinking she was absolutely even more beautiful, I felt, as she aged. I felt like there was this just inner peace with her, and this wisdom of and her inner beauty shining more so than when she was younger, and trying to raise children and juggle all the juggles, all the things that you have to juggle. But I know she didn't see herself that way. Yeah. So that was beautiful. I love what David Root said. I wonder about the mental effect of aging and how that is also a vibration too. And I agree. And the interesting thing that I noticed, getting to be part of boot camp all these years, is seeing new people come in to Taya mindset and learning the mindset, and seeing the the weight, the heaviness of the matrix, the like you said, the judgment piece of let's fight aging. Here's a cream, here's a pill, have a plastic surgery, whatever, all that stuff that's thrown at us. And as you said, Wendy, there's a fear vibration with that of,
Absolutely.
oh, how am I going to fight these wrinkles that are showing up on my face? And I don't want them. And that pushing back against that. And then watching in Tya boot camp, when they start to understand the mindset of how powerful it is to find appreciation in the experience, I have seen that change. I used to say it's like I think there's some magic in that. I've seen people peel back the layers of aging. Yeah. And actually before my very eyes, it's like they look 10 years younger when they graduate boot camp. It's really magical to watch.
Mm-hmm. And going back to David's comment about the mental effect of aging and how that's a vibration too, it's absolutely a vibration. So it's up to you to determine what kind of vibration you're going to approach your intellect or your cognitive functions as you age. And yeah, that's some high level Tya stuff, that we're just starting to explore. And I would love to hear David's perspective on that. If definitely bring that to the stream next time he's on, and ask specifically about the mental approach to aging. Mm-hmm. Because if you approach your aging instead of with fear or judgment or stubbornness, a lot of people just slam on the brakes when they learn up to a certain point. It's like, okay, I know everything and that's the way it is, and you just put up your shields when you're approached with new ideas or perspectives, particularly from younger people. And that's where you're starting to get the generation gap. I say generation gaps plural, because we have this so much friction between different generations now, and it's mostly because of the way they think. Gen Z versus boomers versus Gen X. So I think a good step is to approach everything with simple curiosity and just a little bit of openness, and then release the need to be right. Yes. I think at any age that's a good approach. So yeah. David is now saying, I suppose also the question of if a person is losing their mental function, how able are they to use Tya tools? And how would they back out of that if their mental function is slipping? That is an excellent question, because if you're starting to lose cognitive abilities, if you have a condition like dementia that's starting to creep in, how can one use their Tya tools in that?
Yeah. And I had a little experience with that with my mother, who, as she was approaching the dying process, she didn't have dementia or Alzheimer's, but she certainly was slipping in and out of what she could remember. There was definitely, and I guess that's just natural aging. Sorry for the drilling. But it was not teaching her so much the Tya tools, but it was sharing the vibration of it with her, of my appreciation for her.
To lead by example, I guess.
Yeah, just easing her fears by saying, "It's okay, Mom." I would say, "It's okay, Mom. I got this," and just kind of a redirection. And because she was aware enough to know that that her mind was slipping. She was aware enough to know that, for instance, she'd forget where stuff is, but she was aware enough to know that she was forgetting. And I would be like, "It's okay, it's right here." And I would show her, and I'd be like, "You're okay." And just instead of, which I got great advice from a Alzheimer's clinic to say, instead of trying to pull them into your reality of you're losing your mind, mom, you've got dementia or you've got Alzheimer's, to enter with them into their reality of what they're experiencing, and knowing it's their experience, but I can sit with them in my appreciation of them. And it did change the vibration of it without actually sharing a Tya tool. Does that make sense? It was more my vibration versus my words.
Mm-hmm. And this
And
is so critical, especially now with a rapidly aging population, to really learn how to work with these people instead of, just trying to basically hammering, to go into their world and work on their level. I think is, I mean, I consider this advanced Tya because you're dealing with extra levels of complexity. So I would love to hear more about this from David in the stream, because I know unfortunately he couldn't join us today, but he's had a lot of this kind of experience with, some people that he's living with at the moment. And he's shared a little bit with us, and he's doing a fantastic job of navigating it. So yeah, definitely, David, bring these questions next time you're with him in the stream to get some more in-depth clarity on this, because this is next level stuff.
I have manifested their drilling and hammering at a condo next to me is being built currently, and it's very loud. So I'm sure you can hear all that because we share that wall. And so, yeah, my apologies for that.
No, we can hear you just fine. And one thing to appreciate is that there's work being done. There's people at work. They got steady work going on, and you might have some new neighbors that might be
I'm very excited and appreciating all the updates that are going on around here, because they do a beautiful, absolute beautiful job of it. So just a few things that I did share with my mom, because she was very fearful of the death experience. And I at this time had already been through boot camp. So I had Tya tools, but she was very firm and stood in her Christian belief, which is how I was raised in Christianity. So that was her belief system, and I wasn't about to change her belief system at that point, but I could bring, as I said, my Tya teachings to her of sitting in appreciation of her life and how beautiful it was and what else she was able to experience. And we just shared those stories. And then as it got closer to it, she was very concerned about being judged and Judgment Day, and so we talked about that too. And I said, and I shared my belief system with her. I said, I don't believe that. I've never ever and she knew this from a tiny age. I always knew that the God or the being that I believed in was just love, was pure love. And I felt like, I said, I feel like you will feel that. You will feel that love and that open arms and welcoming you home. And I said, and I know you know that, and we'll stand firm on that. And then we talked about my dad had gone, of course, was passed. And then her brothers and sisters all were gone, and people she was close to, and my brother passed. And so I just, we kept talking about they would all be waiting there. And I do believe that. I believe there's a piece of us that gets to reconvene with all of our loved ones or our vibrational neighbors, so to speak. And then as she went through the death process, we saw that. I saw her kind of fading between that completed state and back to her human state and back and forth. And so it really was quite beautiful. We sat there and held her hand through the entire process, and she was able to transition without fear. And I think it was because I found it so peaceful and beautiful and knew where she was going. And I think that's the key is you may not be able to share the tools with anyone, but you can share your vibration of appreciating their life and all the experiences that they had on this journey here as their human person. And to me, that was just such a gift. I felt like was such a great gift, was that I had that opportunity to do that with my mom. And had I not been through Tya boot camp, I know without a doubt it would have been a very different experience without my Tya tools, without knowing radical appreciation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible, Carrie. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. You're welcome. I just, like I said, Wendy, I love your, I want to go back to you saying about the younger generation, because I do see that in the age differences I have with my children and some friends of mine, of their standing in their belief system, which is very different. I feel like at least very different from when I was raised. Kind of my belief system versus my parents versus my grandparents. It seemed like there was a wider gap, so to speak. And now I'm seeing that, as you said, it doesn't appear to be much gap, and maybe it's the same. I just wasn't in tune to it when I was younger. But to see the difference in a 30-year-old versus a 20-year-old versus a teenager, and the different gaps. And but I too have found, even with that and talking to the younger ones, and really just allowing them to share their belief system, like you said, and not myself, of letting go of my need to be right. This is my mindset practice and it's the only way. Well, knowing it's not the only way. It's the right way for me.
Mm-hmm.
And having that more open discussion, instead of saying I'm right, you're wrong, and them saying I'm right, you're wrong, which only leads to a lower vibration of arguing your point. And coming to realize that it's their experience, whatever it is, and really stepping back and just appreciating that it's their experience. And I love that you brought curiosity to the table, Wendy, because I do believe that's a real big key of just being curious. Well, what is your belief system, and where are you in life? And really listening to them. There's so much power and beauty in that, to really allow them to speak their truth and be heard without my judgment of whether it's right or wrong. That's really beautiful, Wendy. And if you would share more of your experiences with that, I'd love it. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, and I mean, I listen to younger people's perspectives, and then I listen to people older than me and their perspectives, and it's very easy to jump to judgment. Even after Ty, it's like, but what about it? And I have to catch myself. It's like, okay, let them talk, and instead of feeling judgment, and very often with younger generations especially, I tend to feel a bit envious because they have their whole lives ahead of them. They're off to, they have more advantages than I did, and I just have to stop myself and think, they have their advantages, and they're going to have their own set of challenges that our generations didn't have. They're just having their own experience, and to be able to detach myself and just observe makes it a lot easier, and actually learn more. There's learning experiences, there's learning opportunities in there that you can look for. And yeah, that's really, that's really beautiful how you said, Carrie, about letting other people speak their truth, even if you may not agree with them. Just a little bit of curiosity and openness, you might actually learn something valuable.
Yeah, agreed. That's amazing, Wendy, because it's true. It is true. And I've discovered in my own experiences of really allowing myself to just listen without judgment, and noticing even in myself that sometimes that's difficult because there are times we're still triggered by it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and so I will go back to the simplicity of when, if they're talking and telling me their experience and I feel triggered, of just taking those few deep breaths and allowing that to kind of pass through, and just, it has changed the whole vibe of a discussion, as that, from going too heated and just being the observer,
Yes.
and really paying attention to like how I previously would be triggered and then would not even be hearing them anymore because I was so caught up in what my perspective was, and that's so wrong and this should not be. And now leaning back, observing that, and being able to change my own vibration of that has changed, and changed the conversation, and has really taken me to another level with some people that I know, that, and how beautiful it is, and how they felt heard, they felt listened to, even when they knew they may not change my perspective and I won't change theirs, but the love and appreciation for each other that we're having those experiences just went to such a deep level. And it really was beautiful, in that I know for a fact, had I gone into being triggered and ego, that it could have possibly ended a friendship that I've had for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, it was really quite an amazing experience that I just had not too long ago with a friend that is very, very lost at this point. Not lost, I shouldn't say that. They're not lost. That was judgment. They're in the matrix, and they are in the middle of dealing with aging parents and children coming to grown age. So that teenage age, which is very
What they call it, the
tumultuous.
sandwich situation.
Mhm.
You got kids,
Yeah,
and then you have parents,
yeah. And
and
she's struggling. She's a dear friend of mine, and she is currently struggling with all of that. And leaning back, and even just months ago, there was a need, oh, you should do this mindset practice, it will help you. And then realizing that she is not at a place to even hear that currently, because she is exactly what you said, sandwiched between her parents' belief system, her teenagers pushing against that belief system, and her knowing there's middle ground in there somewhere, right? But she's feeling so torn apart and so pulled in between that the last thing she needed to hear from me was, you need to do something or change your mind.
yeah,
What she needed from me was just to be heard and listened to.
exactly.
And when I discovered that, and realized I was being triggered a little bit because I love her so much and I want the best for her, right? But I don't need to help her or fix her. She's going to figure it out. All she needed to do was to share her belief system with me, and for me to hear it. I don't have to agree with it, but she was heard. And it again, it was just absolutely a lovely, lovely experience that
Mm.
I am so grateful for. And I love how you brought all this to light, because I think so many people can relate, David Strickle included, because as you said, he's in the midst of taking care of Michael's parents, and I'm sure you all have had stories. So very, very interesting to watch the aging process and watching it from a new perspective of,
Right.
yeah, of there's so much fear in the death experience. We've been, it's, as you said, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Don't age, don't die, be so afraid, fight against it. Yeah.
It's a big one. And, none of us are immune to it because our societies, it is the great unknown. I think it's one of the biggest mysteries in life, regardless of your culture or background. And our institutions use that as a form of control. And, it's a because why not? Because we all have that basic fear, and to be able to release some of that fear and judgment of it, regardless of what your belief systems are, regardless of what our governments and our media and our families are telling us, to be able to just release that death grip, pardon the term. You know what, it brings so much peace. And it's a big one, and it's not an easy one. If it were that simple, we'd all be going skydiving because we don't give a shit. But but you know what? It's just something you just got to keep working on a little bit every day, just refining it. And definitely the Tya tools have helped. And talking to other people, just talking about it, like people like you, Carrie. So that's why I love chatting with you about any topic, really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then to me, again, that's the beauty of discovering that we have a choice to step out of the judgment of the my way is right and your way is wrong, or I have to save everybody and get them into Taya, and all of those judgment pieces. Oh, there's Stacy jumping on! Yay! And yeah, I love it, Wendy, and I love discussing it with you because of the fact that we can all respect and appreciate each other's views without judging what we're going through. And yeah, it's the Matrix, for lack of a better word, is a seductive, sexy, just wants to pull you back.
You
Yeah.
fear and judgment, come and get it.
Color your hair. Don't age. It really is. As you think of, and Stacy, I love that you're joining us. I'm sure everybody is so happy to see you. So I'm going to be quiet in 1 second, but this vision of walking into the drugstores, right? Walgreens or CVS, there is like an entire section of rows and rows and rows of anti-aging products and creams and pills and you name it, it's in there. Of don't age. And
if
the
you
funny
want
part
to,
is we're
yeah,
gonna
and at the same time, releasing your judgment of that. If you want to go, buy tons of makeup and take pills and do the lotions and potions, do it. I
absolutely.
sometimes go and I get an ice cream and I put it as
Mhm.
use it as part of my self-care routine.
Yeah,
So again, releasing my fear and judgment of the cosmetics industry or the beauty industry. If you want to go, spend a lot of cash on some products, do it.
if it makes you feel good, I agree
If it
100%.
makes you feel good.
You know what my favorite is? Those masks. My kids and I laugh so hard. I sent them a picture the other day because I was cleaning out the bathroom and I found I had ordered these charcoal masks that they're black,
Mhm.
and it feels so good on your face. And I just put it on and it says 20 minutes, and I was wearing that thing for like an hour because it just felt so cool and nice on my skin. And I was sending stuff trophies to my kids, like, look at me, I'm having a mask.
Yeah, and
Just
yeah, if
talking about
yeah,
it.
a lot of people say, I wear lots of makeup, I play with makeup because it makes me feel good, not because I'm trying to impress other people.
Mhm.
And yeah, if it's fun, if it makes you feel good, do it. If you
Yeah,
don't want to wear a stitch of makeup for the rest of your life and, let your hair get all nasty and, let yourself go, quote unquote, do that if it makes you feel good.
yep. I'm always impressed when I go into places where, it can be the grocery store, it can be just walking in, to get a coffee, and some young woman has taken such effort to do the makeup, because we've all been there and we know how long it takes to put the stuff on, and you can spend hours in front of the mirror. And I always appreciate the effort that they put in. And if they look nice, which is the majority of the time, I always comment, oh, your eyelashes look fabulous. Those great fake eyelashes, which I would love to experience, but I'm sure it would cause me so much trauma. I'm sensitive, so it'd be like, oh, okay, I've got these things on my eyes. But it's interesting coming from living in Los Angeles, where everybody's beautiful and they strive to be beautiful. And if you're not beautiful in a certain way, you're kind of looked down on. And that's really intense. I think it's super intense for young women in general. I love seeing that the Instagram has now started to include, this is what Instagram looks like, but this is the real me. And they'll have the pictures side by side, and she's all skinny and perfect. And then the second picture is it's a little cellulite. And there's a little hangy over thing. Yeah, that's the way we are. I had a conversation just recently with a girlfriend who's starting to go through, changes of life, menopause, and I said, you can do everything that you want to try, whether it be surgery, whether it be hormones, whether it be dietary changes and exercises. But ultimately, the only thing that's really, really, really important, and I've exercised this myself, love the way you are, just as you are. If you can't love yourself in that space of, yeah, I got wrinkles and sunspots. My hair obviously is white, right? It's not dyed, it's white. In this lighting, I look blonde. It's really awesome. But yeah, there's stuff going on where I'm like, yeah, but the idea of going through plastic surgery or trying to make myself look a different way, it sounds absurd to me.
And that's
Yeah.
and that's your view. And if someone else wants to go under the knife 50 times they're doing it in joy and they find it fun and they love, you know, changing up their appearance, then that's okay too, as long as it's, done in joy instead of fear or, anxiety, like they got to keep up. If it's done, just in pure, just for fun, go ahead and do it.
Oh, I love that, Wendy. For fun. And you had said earlier about jumping out of airplanes and being fearless, and I laughed because when it's one thing I have no desire to do, and but I did have a fear of heights, and so when I finally got through my divorce and all of that, I decided to tackle my fears. And this was years and years ago. And I went parasailing with my kids, and I was terrified the entire time, but yet I was determined to experience it with them. And of course, they found great joy in my terrifying as they're swinging. And I'm like, stop it doing this thing. And I had a death grip on, and they just, the fact that they were laughing at me really helped me. And I have parasailed probably 4 times after that with friends. And I still, every time, my body just physically shakes, but I'm determined to enjoy it because I know that it's fine. I'm fine. I'm safe. So I do love that, of just finding the joy if you, yeah, and whatever you choose to do. And like I said, for me, just having a spa day of pampering my skin and loving my skin, regardless of what condition it is going to get to as I age. If I do it in the sheer fun of it, of trying it, as I said, the first time I tried these masks was several years ago. My kids came home from college and they're like, oh, we're going to put this mask on our hair and on our face, and we're going to have a beauty night. And we ate a bunch of junk food and watched movies with these masks. And we did have so much fun. And I remember them they took a selfie of all of us and they were going to post it on Instagram. And it was these masks were like where they stretched your skin and then peeled them off. And I was like, oh, don't put me on Instagram looking like that. And they're like, who cares? And I thought, who cares, right? I don't care. So I love that tip. And I love that, Stacey, of you saying, because your hair is outstanding. It really is. You have beautiful hair, which I have always admired. But if it all fall out tomorrow, I would still love you.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Purple. I'm thinking, I love that youngsters doing the hot colors and
yeah, I know.
Enjoy. Hey, if wearing hot pink hair makes you feel good, rock it. I love that. I love that tip.
I know I'm not quite brave enough to really dive into that, but yeah, I agree. I think it looks super cool, especially some of the really fancy, ombre ones, I just think it's really neat. It's very artistic.
Yeah, I could definitely appreciate the skill that goes into these hairstyles.
Yeah. And if you've ever cut your own hair and had disasters like I have, you can appreciate it even more. One year I was like, I'm going to dye my hair super dark black, right? And of course I have white hair, and I was younger then, so there wasn't so much white, but I thought, oh, that'll look interesting with my skin color and my blue eyes. It'll be contrasting. So I put this dye on. My hair was very short at the time. I was vegetarian and doing a lot of yoga, so it was very thin, and put this stuff on, washed it out, and it was the color. It was peacock blue. It was brilliant, and it was shocking. And I took a couple pictures of myself, which I still have, and I looked someone like a heroin addict, I would imagine, because I was so thin and my hair was so drastically different. It was at a time period when people weren't really dyeing their hair. And so I thought, you know what? This is really interesting. I'm having such a strong reaction. I'm going to see what happens, how other people react. 20-somethings were like, oh, your hair is so awesome. How did you get it that color? I'm like, oh, it was an accident, right? My daughter's friends, I would volunteer in her classroom when she was in 4th grade. They were all like, oh, your hair is beautiful. They just loved it. Women of 30-something and older age would literally look at me and avert their eyes. It was the most interesting thing. I had so much fun. So it lasted for about a week. I finally took it off.
Was it permanent?
Yeah. But there are many steps you can take to remove permanent color, especially when it's home done.
Right.
So luckily I knew I'm a bit of a chemist when it comes to that. But don't ever honey yourself. Carrie knows. I had carrot orange hair for a while too, and that was really tragic.
Well, I'm not bold as you. That's pretty cool, actually.
But it's interesting to play. And I think that's one of the things that's really cool about guys. They have the ability to change their facial hair and to give themselves a really drastic, different look very quickly. Same thing, their length of their hair and whatnot. My husband hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, and he grew this big giant beard, and I really was not fond of it. And there's always something in it, and I didn't really trim it, so I couldn't find his lips to kiss him when I did see him. And I finally said, "Can you do me a favor and please shave it off?" And it was kind of like this. badge of honor he was wearing for the time that he had spent on the trail. And he finally was like, yeah, I'll cut it off. So he finally shaved, and I was like, oh, look, your beautiful face is still there. He has one of those nice little cleft chins and, well-shaped lips. So I was very happy that I got to see that part of his face again, yet Snow White. So we were teasing him that he was Santa on the trail.
It's interesting where you're saying about that too, because when I got into the workforce, of course, being in the medical field and being in many hospitals and clinics, that was a requirement. Then I'm sure that's changed now, but you could not have facial hair, and you could also not have tattoos that showed. They had to be covered, which I always found so odd, because the hair I get, especially if you're surgery or something, that part I kind of got. But the tattoos, I was like, what difference does it make? But I know that's changed. And then I have a son that is very artistic, and he has many tattoos and has grown this very long beard. And many of his friends are envious because he has this thick, curly, thick hair, which he was able to do the same with his beard. And he does have, I think, the most beautiful face and blue eyes, and I think he's so handsome, of course, because he's my son. And I feel like that just covers all that up. But then coming to the realization that I don't live with him, he's grown, and that's his thing. And just really coming into the appreciation of him enjoying his beard, because he bought all the products, and he keeps it trimmed and lovely, and he's very proud of his beard. And now I'm kind of growing to appreciate it. So because it's this experience, and as a parent, that's another thing, even with aging, is watching my children come into their own, and it's, not aging per se, but they're not kids anymore. They're adults, and they have their own lives. And my son recently got married and has a career, and they just bought a home, and really watching that from a different perspective of allowing them their experience, and just really appreciating that they're figuring it out. And I love that. Yeah. And I did enjoy the pictures of your husband with his very wisdom white. Yeah. And I thought of him like coming out of the hills, with all this hair and growth of, like a movie of being off in the woods and
So
just
like a mountain man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little nested baby birds in there, and
like Tom Hanks in Castaway, where he's got the beard and the crazy hair. I mean, we actually trimmed his hair a little too, so it's not so crazy looking. But many of the young men who hike the Pacific Crest Trail, they don't shave, and so they do grow quite big beards, and that is quite in fashion. And it's lucky that they're able to go out and find those products nowadays, because back in the day when my dad was younger and he had a good sized mustache, it was mustache wax and this just little tiny comb that he used to use. But it was funny, in the process of Andrew shaving it off, he did this kind of droopy, I don't know what kind of a 70s style mustache. And he took a picture of himself, and he looked just like his dad. And he was like, oh my God, he couldn't wait to shave it off. It was funny. Yeah, aging's interesting. I think, we were talking about this today, earlier today too, Carrie, how we choose to age. Like, we get to choose whether we want to feel good, whether we want to feel poor, whether we want to go on drugs, whether we want to do surgery, whether we want to buy, hundreds of thousands of dollars of makeup and products and, things that you can spend a ton of money on preventative health care, trainers. you name it. I mean, there's always a way for that really large industry that's focused on baby boomers to assist you if you would like to put your money there. And I've tried a bunch of different things, and it's really interesting to experience. But again, like you, I come back to the same thing of where am I most joyful and in full acceptance and appreciation of who I am. And the wisdom, you guys, I don't know about you guys, but I got a lot of wisdom, you know? Been around for a while.
Well, that's why you have the lead coach.
Oh, thanks, honey. It's fun to finally realize that though, like, oh my God, I know stuff. You know, I actually know stuff.
Oh my gosh, that was always my saying to my children, and except I said shit.
Well, I didn't know if I could say that on here or not. So.
I don't know if we're allowed to or not, but I did. And they used to be like, how'd you know that, Mom? And I'd be like, because I know shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, life experience does teach us a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that you were able to jump on with us, Stacy, and you know, being in the middle of your hiking trip and taking time out to jump on, because these Tya Talks really are so much fun, and hearing all the different perspectives. And again, thank you, Wendy, for your insight. I could, as you know, we all do. We could sit and talk about stuff like this all day. I just so enjoy. And I always learn something new and have these moments of clarity. And I am going to definitely take that with me today, of finding joy in experimenting with products and things. Why not, right? If it makes your skin feel good, why not? And I love the makeup thing, because that's one thing that I do not have, or never did. The skills of, I still struggle putting on my own makeup. And even though I've gone to many tutorials and things, that I just, yeah. And it's interesting because I know that I can learn it and I can do it, but then to watch a real makeup artist, just absolutely.
What they can do nowadays is mind blowing. So it's
It
just
is
it's just fun to
mind-blowing.
watch.
It is. I follow several young women on Instagram because just their technique alone is like, wow. How did you make yourself look like that?
I know. And I had the front row seat with my now daughter-in-law, who I absolutely adore. On her wedding day, she was doing her own makeup, and she said, oh, I watched all these tutorials on Instagram and TikTok, and then we went to the beauty store, Ulta, and she had her list. And she bought all these beauty products because she was going to do the tutorials. And watching her do each one that she had learned, and the layers and the different contouring, and she's gorgeous anyway without makeup. Of course, I'm partial because she's my daughter-in-law, but watching her do that, and then the finished product of, wow. And it didn't take her very long, but I watched in amazement of how she just applied all this makeup. And I thought, if I would have done that, I would have looked, really like a 3-year-old mess, because I tried them. So I do know, like anything else, it just takes practice.
Mm-hmm. It does.
But we did go over a little, and we had some questions from David Rude. And I do agree with Wendy on the next opportunity with the stream. If you will bring those questions, David, your questions are always amazing. And I'm just going to go real quick to see, we didn't have any other. And Erica, thank you if you're still on, for joining us. And as always, Stacy, you just absolutely brought such joy for
See you.
to see you. I miss you.
Miss you too. Good to see you both. Really good to see you. And you look great.
Oh yeah, Wendy, your light shines so beautiful. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was kind of fun. So I'm glad, even though I have hammering and drilling, as Wendy said, I'm finding appreciation that they're working and there's crafts going on, and I'm going to have new neighbors soon. So how cool is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, you can spend more time outdoors.
Absolutely. Um, our pool's under construction too, but there's always the beach.
There's always a beach.
Always the beach, definitely, or a neighbor.
True. Friends with
Yeah.
pools. Yeah. All right. Thank you, each of you, for joining us if you join live. And as always, we appreciate you and taking time out of your day to join us today. And thanks, ladies.
Mm.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.